Mom 8. I'm married too. I'll share one that happened to me when I was a boy. Going to visit Uncle and his wife in Devon. We're from Shropshire, long ride, and I'm a bored little boy playing Pokemon on his Game Boy. Uncle owns his house, big fucking thing, lovely woods and pond nearby. We saw deer often. It's night when we start getting there. I'm sleepy. 5-seater car, me, Mom and Dad and 2 uncles with us. Car suddenly stops. Everyone is shouting. Uncle and Father get out and my mother is pleading to them not to. We get told to drive to Tony's, my uncle who we were visiting. We do, and when we get there we tell him what happened. His face turns white, gets us inside, pulls the curtains over. 20 minutes later Dad and uncles come back. Uncle John was covered in scratches. Didn't ask why. We hear something moving around outside, breathing heavily. Tony says keep away from the bloody windows, that bastard likes sticking its molars in. We all stayed up and we left the next day. Tony and his wife sold the property some time later. The old lady they sold it to was found mutilated days after and her Great Dane was partially eaten. Uncle was questioned by police.
Might as well tell my story. I was about 12 or 13. Walking back from shopping centre in England with my uncle, around 45 years old at the time. Decide to take a shortcut and walk through the woods. It was a nice bright day, so why the fuck not? We get the feeling that we're being watched and can hear the brushes moving. I'm telling him something about this video game while he listens. Something in the bush repeats what I'm saying but extremely garbled. I'm scared but don't show it. Start closing my eyes when we walk through bits that have bushes on each side. It says it again, but much clearer. My uncle looks annoyed and says kids with nothing better to do. We hear it back perfectly. Like it echoed. It repeats 4 or 5 times. We both think it's kids and decide to fuck with them. Uncle, he was kinda the naughty uncle. He'd let me swear around him, which I wasn't allowed to do at my age, says I'm a queer and I like blokes. The thing repeats it perfectly and says it a few times. We think it's hilarious and we're saying all sorts. We start to smell a rusty smell, a bit like pennies. 1 too odd because the lake nearby had run off pollutants. 0 sound at all, birds have stopped, wind stopped and so have crickets. Something starts to chase us and we split off from one another. I can hear my uncle shouting my name, so I walk towards it. He's in a field clearing, looking around for me. Go towards him. Glance back because I was always a paranoid boy. See uncle behind me and not stop, I'm really hungry. Look forward and see uncle again looking for me, look back, see a really stiff version of my uncle without much facial expression. Bowled straight off to the clearing and we both ran home. It fits the type of story that's usually posted here about skinwalkers. I have other uncles with experiences but they refuse to talk about it.
I'll start. In the woods. Camping with friends. Stop at an undeveloped campground because it's late. Miles of woods in all directions. Go to sleep. Wake up very late at night. Hear somebody walking toward my tent, very slowly. Steps like 2 seconds apart. Glance in the direction of the sound. I don't see any artificial light, it's pitch black. I'm rattling like a leaf. Steps get closer. Right next to my tent. Not really titty.gif. Stops. Silence. I'm frozen. After a good 5-10 minutes, steps walk away. Awake for rest of night. Next morning I get up with the others. I ask them about it. WTF anon, this better not be another scary story. MFW.
Not entirely in the woods, but part of this story did take place while inside. B15. Live in rural Texas. Have a big forest in the backyard, most of it is just brush, but there are places in which you could walk around in. One day, I was talking a walk through it and hear some kind of rustling noise. Instinctively think it's just a squirrel or raccoon, since we see those a lot here. Walk on for a few minutes. Hear the rustling again, but this time hear some kind of hiss. Out of the brush, a big-ass raccoon charges at me, obviously rabid. Roll a 20 on my reflex save and hit it squarely in the face with my walking stick. It's laying on the ground, stunned and pissed, so I finish the job and stomp on its neck. Head back to the house and call it a day. All through the way back, I constantly hear leaves rustling behind me and feel really uneasy about staying inside the place. Eventually break into a run until I reach the house. Next morning, I go out on the back porch to drink some coffee and look at the sunrise. This was during one of the autumn and we had amazing sunrises there. As soon as I open the back door, I see a skull laying right in front of the door. It's definitely a raccoon one, but way bigger than it should be. It was also very clean of blood, skin, but specked with dirt. I didn't tell anyone about my encounter with the raccoon until after I found the skull, and I'm pretty sure no one else went into the forest that day.
There is not much to the story, but it's very real and I have no explanation. Be up at cabin with friend, cousin, sister and her friend. Sitting out by campfire around 10 p.m., pitch black. Talking about spooky things that happened up there before, general storytelling and nonsense. Suddenly a bright flash in the woods about 75 yards away. Think camera flash, but brighter. This land is isolated for miles in any direction, no road for a mile. This was in the woods, nothing around it. In for trail cam, there are none on our property. Everyone's kind of freaked out, but my friend and I go to examine because we're the oldest and we needed to know what it was. Find nothing, no answers, no theories, nothing. I posted this a few times on /out/ but people just say swamp gas or lightning. This is frustrating when you know that it want a hiker, want gas, etc. Any ideas? I also have a lot of spooky stories from my cabin. If this thread is still up tomorrow I'll write more.
I was at my cottage, deep in the woods. Cutting a trail from the cottage to the waterfall, 1 hour or walking approximately, deeper in the woods. Bring axe, buck knife and chainsaw to cut the trees in the way. Halfway done, a big tree is laying in the way, so I power up the chainsaw. Right as I pull the handle and start it up, I see something tall and all black run past some trees. I know that it's not human, it's too tall, almost seemed as it floated instead of normal running. I stare at the tree where it hid. Look down at the tree at my feet, take the chainsaw out of the hole and scream nope. I walked back to the cottage, with chainsaw at hand and roaring. Sit at cottage like nothing happened because I don't give a shit. Next day I finish the trail and clean up the mess. It was a good week.
There's a place in Monticello, Kentucky called Beaver Creek. There's the resort, which is just a boring tourist location, but there's a more remote access road called Lynch Ford. A few fishermen go there, but there's never more than 10 cars at a time, in my short experience. I had a falling out with my family, so I moved here to get away from the insanity. To cure my boredom and fill my belly, I went looking for places to fish. I didn't know many people around here, so I had to look for places on my own. I pulled up Google Maps and searched around for creeks and rivers on the satellite image until I found Elk Creek, which led me to Beaver Creek. I googled further to find the resort, but I didn't want to be around people. I just needed to be alone, really. I'd had too much face time with family as it were, and I wasn't interested in socializing. So, I got in my car and drove around sort of aimlessly until I found Lynch Ford Road, which ends at a remote section of Beaver Creek. For a whole month I fished there Monday through Thursday, reeling in massive bluegill perfect for getting a thick enough cut of boneless meat to batter and deep fry like a true southerner. I also caught the occasional log perch, drum, and largemouth bass. But I was more focused on the gloriously tasty and bountiful bluegill. A lot of fishermen laugh at the thought of bluegill fishing since it's considered baby's first catch, but they taste better than any other freshwater fish I've ever eaten. I got a real taste for these fish and felt compelled to return to the creek to keep my freezer full. I didn't like going on the weekends because teenagers often set up camp and partied all weekend, and that's exactly what I like to avoid. However, I decided to go on a Friday evening recently and noticed a distinct lack of humans. No one was there. I was thrilled. I went back Saturday evening and was again surprised no one was there. Cool. I had the entire creek to myself again, and I loaded myself down with delicious fish. Not finding it at all suspicious in the least that the weekends were devoid of party folks, I took a few days off last week to catch up on other evening duties like weed eating and mowing the lawn. I returned to Beaver Creek once again last Thursday. As I was driving my car down the winding, narrow country road to the creek, I met an oncoming truck that was barreling like mad and almost clipped my car. Assholes. I assumed they were young and drunk or on meth, so I continued to my favorite place. There's a shitty dirt road that goes the length of the creek, but it's so rutted out from people getting their trucks stuck in the mud that it's impossible for me to drive my car with its precariously dangling crimped up muffler and tailpipe down to the best fishing spots, so I always park my car in the gravel parking lot and walk with all my gear down the dirt road. I got there around 6:30 p.m. and hoofed it down to a really nice spot where a small stream falls into the creek in a shallow waterfall. That spot is a bit shy of half a mile from my car. On my way there, I noticed some weird-looking tracks in the mud. They looked human but were a bit skinny and curved terribly inward. I wasn't sure how to write that off as ordinary. The tracks lead off the road and into the weeds toward the woods where I couldn't follow. I was a bit concerned about it, but I had mace and an old-timer hunting knife with me if any inbred rednecks decided they wanted a piece of me. Onward to my little waterfall spot, I set up my fishing chair and dropped my line in the water. I wasn't getting a lot of bites at first, so my eyes began wandering the banks and mountainside. Usually when I'm out there I see a lot of great blue herons fishing the banks and croaking their weird calls. I usually hear the screeching of blue jays, crickets ramping up for the evening, and all sorts of other nature sounds. This time, it was much more quiet than usual. At this point I began to worry a little, but perhaps it was the cooler weather causing the lack of nature sounds. With the absence of party folks, other fishermen, and the locals that walk the creek and swim, I wondered if maybe there was something going on down there everyone knew about but me. The odd tracks in the mud, the truck tearing ass away from the creek, and now the diminished sounds of nature were getting to me. But then, suddenly, the fish began to bite. One after the other I reeled in some fat bluegill. I spent the next hour loading up my fish bucket. All anxiety left me. If you're a fellow fisherman reading this, you understand what I mean. It was getting dark and difficult to see to pull out the hook from the fish. This was nothing new for me. I often stayed out a little after dark with no incident if the fish were still biting. And as luck would have it, I was trying to grab hold of a particularly large and feisty bluegill when it finned my hand. I reacted with a loud, "Fuck." I shook off my asattery and continued business as usual. Almost in reply, I heard a response from the woods behind me. I heard, "Fuck." It sounded male and in an unfamiliar accent. It had almost an analog quality in voice, like a tape being played back, but not in my voice. I froze in place, still holding my reel with an iron grip. I started to panic internally, but I tried to stay calm and listen. A fish began tugging my line but I ignored it. I slowly reeled in, missing the catch, and laid my rod and reel down. I unclipped my knife from its holster on my belt, and I uncapped and turned the head of my mace in my pocket. I stood still with my eyes fixed in the general location of the voice. I could hear the faintest sound of rustling out there, but I couldn't see anything. With the tiniest bit of sunset left, I got my mag light out of my backpack. No sooner did I grasp my flashlight, I heard what sounded like snoring coming from the direction I heard the voice and rustling. It sounded like two people snoring or grunting, but nearly in tandem, still having that tape-recorded quality. It kept getting closer. I grew a pair and clicked on the flashlight, but I was unprepared for what I would see. I started scanning the light in front of me and worked my way outward toward the noises. At first, I caught a glimpse of white humanoid flesh hobbling slowly behind the trees. I was scared out of my mind. My hands were shaking so hard that I couldn't keep the flashlight trained on the thing very well. The thing hobbled to a point where the trees were skinny enough to see past, and I got a good look. It looked like fairly young conjoined twins. It had two human heads, a broad torso, and two fucked up legs. It was naked and pale, and it was looking at me, still making that faint snoring noise. As I stood there shaking like someone with Parkinson's disease, it drew in a deep breath and made the most awful two-headed howling noise I'd ever heard. It lunged toward me a bit, then its heads turned to look at each other and they sort of chuckled. I was freaking out harder than I ever thought I could. Never in my life had I ran so fast yet felt like it was taking forever to get to my car. It was dark at this point, so I was trying not to trip or slide in the mud and ruts on the dirt road. Once I got close to the car, I looked back with the flashlight and saw the thing walking across the road to the spot where I left my fish and gear. I only stopped for that moment, then I got in my car and peeled out of there as fast as I possibly could. I fucking hate Kentucky. I got tripped off by an inbred Siamese twin hillbilly. Laugh if you want, but if you were there you'd run like hell, too. That shit was just unnatural. Anyway, let this be a thread about your experiences in the woods. I'd be interested as hell if any of you know someone who has seen this freak of nature at Beaver Creek.
I'll post a few before sleeping. They're all short, but they're real and none have real explanations. Before wheeling around midnight with same group of people, different time altogether. Double riding, we had 3 apps out at the time. Get to the swamp, which is like 5 miles from the cabin through the woods on a narrow trail. Get to this bridge that goes over small creek to get to swamp area. Note, the swamp is a spooky destination because no one wants to go, and that is where most of the bear sightings are. And general fear of the woods at night. There is a log in front of bridge, so I got off in the light of the 2 trailing autos, shining through the swamp fog. I remember it being cold, so I was rushing to get the log off so we could continue. Other side of bridge the trail starts to end and it's full of evergreen saplings and we need to turn around, which can be difficult to coordinate. In this time, maybe 5 minutes elapse and we get back to the bridge. My stomach drops, hair raises on my arms. The log is right back in front of the bridge and the kids are absolutely losing it. Pretty sure my cousin, who is now a Marine, a few years later, was crying. Running on pure adrenaline, I run across bridge and throw the log. It's about 8 feet long, but dead, so it probably weighed about 50 pounds. That extreme adrenaline that you got as a kid running up the stairs from the basement, but times 1000, electricity through my entire body, almost feeling faint. We drive out of there as fast as we could. Literally had open wounds from my cousin clenching my shoulders on back of ATV. This story hardly comes up because it's the most real spooky experience up there, and the mood always dies when we bring it up. I four-wheel back there alone in the day sometimes and it just feels so off. I have a pic I took of 5 turkey vultures circling the large clearing right before the swamp from a year or so after. Pic related, the swamp and day.
Springtime. First big rain of the year. A special mushroom grows in the area for only a few days of the year after the first heavy rain. Worth a pretty penny, so we go out looking for them after the rain stops. These mushrooms have a specific look to them. They stand up about 6 inches, dark gold in color and covered in lumps. Out all day picking mushrooms without issue. No ghosts, skinwalkers or boo German get me. Sun is high in the sky, spot a mushroom in the tall grass. Put my hand on it. It feels oddly dry compared to the others. Before I can pull it from the ground it makes a noise. Let go and back away confused, as most mushrooms don't do that. Rattlesnake lunges out of the grass at me. Jesus fucking Christ, run away. I didn't even know Iowa had rattlesnakes, but apparently we do, and I held one for a few brief pants-shitting seconds.
My cousins own a cabin in some woodland in Central Florida, and sometimes I camp out there with them. Sometimes, we play Manhunt. Some poor bastard draws the short straw and has 1 hour to hide in the woods. Then, everyone else goes after him with paintball guns with limited ammo. If he survives 5 hours in the woods, he wins. If the group catches him, they shoot. He gets to choose the next prey, as compensation. At our latest get-together, I was chosen as the first prey. Aw fuck.jpg. My cousins are all redneck hunters. I'm the only guy there who can't differentiate a duck call from a deer call. They give me my hour head start. Jog out in the woods for 45 minutes, then climb a tree. We start Manhunt around 6 so that there's some light towards the start and decent darkness by the end, but everyone gets flashlights. Even me. The sun starts to set. As it starts to get dark, I hear rustling, and scrunched up in the tree. I glance down and can barely make out a humanoid silhouette. Assume it's one of the cousins and remain hidden. That's when shit got weird. It walked in circles for a little while, leaving my view, but always returning. After a few repeats of this, I realized it wasn't one of my cousins. It barely even seemed sentient. Its head darted to and fro like a frightened deer. It never looked up. And the more my eyes adjusted and the more attention I paid, the more I realized it's built wrong. It's lanky and wiry and thin, and bent in weird places. After its 5th circle, I hear it. It's chittering to itself. It's like teeth clicking together and animalistic grunts. Resolved to shine light at creature upon its next circle. Worst case scenario, I scream for my cousins, hide in the tree, and hope. I never get the chance. As it circles around again, I hear an audible pop from a paintball gun, a horrible screech, like a cross between a parrot and a goat. And then one of my cousins yelling. I drop out of the tree, and run in that direction, because I am a stupid white person. I find my youngest cousin, Theron, sprawled out on the ground, painting to himself. I run up and call his name. He raises his gun and shoots me dead in the chest. Oh shit. He says, like he wouldn't have done that anyway if he hadn't ran into the goddamned hide behind. He helps himself up, then me up. We quickly meet up with the rest of the group and Darren finally elects to explain what happened. He says he was sneaking up behind a tree he thought I was in, when he saw something move out of the corner of his eye. He acted on instinct, turned, and fired at it. The paintball hit, and the thing fucking wailed in shock. He screamed and raised his flashlight. He saw long, spindly legs and 2 enormous frog or doe eyes, then the thing unfolded. I think he meant unfurled, but I don't know. He says the thing's body unrolled like a bunch of posters, and then it just wasn't there anymore. I back up his story, saying I saw it, too, but the other cousins just laugh at us and call us homos. That was about 14 months ago. He still brings it up every time we see each other. No one ever believes us. I don't really blame them.
This is a legit personal story. Camping in mountains in California east of Bakersfield. Few of the group go hiking around an old gold mine. Abandoned car with 10,000 bullet holes. Ancient rusty mining equipment. Huge solid steel double door over the mine entrance, huge but normal padlock keeping it shut. Bullet dings in door, clearly not massively thick. Few bullet holes go all the way through. They're coming out, not going in. Fucking weird. Climb up on top of what we are now dubbing the door. Minor collapse has left a crack through which to see the inside of the cave. Can barely make out what looks like a table. Neat enough, let's bring the rest of the crew here later. Evening. Full group, kids and shit, jeep over to the door. Huh. Could swear there were only like 5 holes in that door. Now there's dozens. All coming out from inside. Some of the kids climb up top. Shine flashlights through the crack. Hey, there's a table and chairs in there. All 3 flashlights they have go out at the same moment. Everybody kind of weirded out. Kids climb back down. Replace batteries. Nope, bulbs are burned out. I grab the massive halogen spotlight and climb up. Shine it inside. Round wooden table, 4 wooden chairs. Can't see very far past even with a huge light. Spotlight goes out. No fucking way. Fuck with the switch, try to see if the filament broke. Look back into the crack, it's not complete nightfall yet. See 4 pairs of yellow-orange eyes looking back at me from what seems to be the positions of the 4 chairs. Shit. Run like a bitch. As soon as I get back down in front of the door, the spotlight comes back on. Say I've had enough of that shit and head back to camp alone while people make fun of me. Not long back in camp the rest of the group arrives. A few of the other adults climbed up with the spotlight and 4 other normal flashlights. Saw the furniture, but didn't see the eyes because they didn't stick around when all 5 of their lights went out. While climbing down they heard what sounded like a gunshot from behind the door. The regular old flashlights had their bulbs burned out. The spotlight worked again, went away from the door. The door is now an instant legend among our group. Next year, same camping trip, mostly the same huge group. Let's go see the door. Why, that seems like a fine idea. Can't find it. Definitely the same area. There's ancient rusted mining machinery. There's the shut-up old car. No door. In the exact area where we all remember it as a rocky hillside. Making a stop at the forest ranger station for water, and ask about it. I think I know the mine you're talking about ... but it never had a mine shaft. It was a sluice operation. And we waited for the rest of our lives.
Bimi, 8 years old. Our housing subdivision is near an airport. A dense forest separates the subdivision and the airport runway. Me, older bro and 3 friends decide to sneak there and watch planes take off or land. It's 5 p.m. and it will be dark soon, but we decide to push through. At the edge of forest is a grassy area with a barbed wire fence. Easily wiggle through a small vent opening. We get to the edge of runway and watch a plane land. Oh shit, it's almost 6 p.m. and it's getting dark. Once we reach the barbed wire fence, friend 1 noticed there are 3 persons standing several feet away from us. When we looked, we saw 3 fucking tall figures with eyes glowing in yellowish red. We noped the fuck out of there.
Got another one. Picking up a trailer from an unattended, unlit, unpaved dirt lot deep in the middle of Bigfoot, Arkansas. Literally nothing but woods for miles around, except for this straw plot. Asshole shuttle driver left the landing gear fully extended on all the trailers. It's a bitch to crank them down when they're loaded. Crank for 15 minutes, pause to take a break. Leaning against the trailer, all is perfectly quiet. Hear footsteps slowly approaching from the rear of the trailer. The fuck? I didn't hear another vehicles. Hello? Footsteps stop, no reply. Pull out my phone, turn the light on. Still can't see shit. Of course my real flashlight had to get stolen a few weeks ago. Flip on every light the truck has, get back out. Anybody out there? Silence. Start cranking the landing gear again, looking around with my camera light paranoid as fuck. Footsteps. What the fuck around you doing? Start thinking it might be a bear or something. Suddenly from the darkness under the trailer right fucking next to me, like 2 feet away, holy shit, be careful. In normal, adult male voice. Jump about 10 feet away. Maybe yelp a little. Shine the light under the trailer. Nothing. Take pick related. Nothing. Climb back in truck. Drive away. Get the trailer the next day.
B15. With friend that lives in same app complex. It's deep summer night, very hot but clear. Around 10:45. There is a trail that goes through a forest that opens up to a man-made lake with duck and shit. The lake is about a mile from our complex, so it's a long walk. We had some fireworks and one of those hollow hanger racks to shoot them off like a bazooka. Just juvenile bullshit. It's pitch black, the forest blocks any light from houses and such, lots of stars because clear night. We walk up to the edge of the lake. It gets quiet. All the chirps and shit just stop abruptly. My friend had a flashlight and waved it around, used then to his face to do the spooky grin, making us laugh and continue to walk around the lake. I see this light on the other side of the lake. Must be someone else with a flashlight. Friend yells hey, real loud, and the light starts moving towards us. We look at each other going WTF. It starts moving over the water. My stomach drops and I grab his arm, pulling him backwards. Something ain't right. The world is still quiet like it's on mute, and we start noping the fuck out. We ran non-stop through the trail and forest, not stopping until we closed his app door and locking it. Not the best story, but weird shit stays with you even after 20 years. Matt, if you see this, I hope you're okay. Haven't seen you in 15 years.
On a hiking trip in the middle of the woods off trails yesterday. We leave where we set up our blankets and shit to go upstream. Find 2 other waterfalls and go towards this little opening that has the prettiest fucking waterfall you've ever seen. Get closer. Closer. I'm barefoot cues, I think I'm a hippie. Crew and ch. Fucking shit. Bone. What? Just stepped on a fucking bone. We look around. Fucking place is filled with bones of dead animals. The threat is real. We start walking out of there. Other group comes behind us. Tell us to get the fuck out of there cause it looks like a big cat den. I've never left a spot so fast, real fucking danger, holy shit.
Hide behinds are best nightmare fuel. I believe in these because anyone who has felt that feeling in the woods can relate. Hiking in wilderness area. Middle of the day saw not scary. Go to cross dry rocky riverbed, halfway across hear a throat clearing sound. Turn around, nothing is there. Continue crossing riverbed and hear what sounds like pebbles clacking together. Stop and look for hikers. Nothing still. Almost across riverbed. Best I can describe what happened next is like being buzzed by a bird that you're too close to its nest. Not a bird, I guarantee you that birds are not 6 tall. Whatever it was whooshed behind me like a black and brown blur. I could feel the wind of it on my neck and head. Spin around, no bird. Okay, no more games. Leave me alone or stop hiding. Wait for a few minutes, nothing happens. Okay then. Keep hiking, few hundred yards down the trail. Hear a throat clearing sound again. As I slowly and nopely turn around, I see a 3-tall mass dart across the trail. I don't just see it, I heard it scurrying and it kicked up dust as it ran across the trail. Actually fall backwards because I'm so scared. Scramble to my feet swearing and power hike my ass out of the canyon. Hide behinds are scary as shit.
We meet. Hanging out in the woods at night. Stumble on what looks like an abandoned campsite. Tents are shredded, trash is lying around everywhere. Remember thinking that it was weird that people were camping this far into the woods. I was only a few miles in, but people cook meth and shit out here. Decide to look around the campsite some more. Spend a while trying to think of a rational explanation as to what the fuck could have shredded the tents and trashed the campsite so badly. Just as I'm about to leave, I hear something walk up behind me. Turn around, nothing. Start walking away from the campsite, hear the footsteps again. They were different this time, more like stomping. Turn around again. Absolutely goddamn nothing. Pick up the pace a little. If one of the meth cooks was trying to scare me, I definitely got the message. Walk about a mile, then shit got real spoopy. Hear footsteps again, but this time whatever the hell was behind me was sprinting fast. Start running, but the thing was keeping pace with me pretty easily. At one point it got so close I swore I felt its fucking breath on me. Get out of the woods after what seems like hours of running. The thing stops dead in its tracks, like it didn't even slow down first, it just stopped. Didn't get a very good look at it, but I saw its silhouette. The thing looked skinnier than the pictures of concentration camp survivors that I had seen, and had legs that were longer than the rest of its body. Shine my flashlight on it, which I really wish I wouldn't have. The thing didn't have a mouth, just a mouth painted on with what I assumed was blood. Same thing with the eyes. Run into my house. Lock that bitch up tight, sleep in my bathtub with my shotgun at my side all night. I went back to that campsite the next day, and nothing was there. Not nothing as in the campsite had been cleaned up, nothing as in it looked like nothing had ever been there to begin with. Fuck this state.
Not that scary, just a bit odd. Be in Queensland. Go camping with friends. Get there a little late, my friends jump in the 4x4 and start fucking around in some of the tracks. I said I'd rather just build a fire and get the camp set up. Turns out we had no gas, so I took the grill off, got a huge fire going so we could eat. Friends got back and we went for a walk up the hill. Found a cow skeleton, however there were loads of bones that were missing and what looked like sawed at. Took the head back for keks. This is where it got kind of strange. Everyone sitting round the fire, so I decided to go for a walk at night. Friends were laughing, wide awake and mucking around in general. Walk back up the hill to where the skeleton was. Can't find anything, possibly because it was night. Turn my flashlight on and notice there's hundreds of spiders hanging from the trees. Nope, the fuck out of there. Go back to camp, the fire is completely out and everyone is asleep. The wood isn't even hot and there's not enough water around to put out a fire the size we had. Went to sleep wondering how everyone fell asleep so quick. Ask my friends what happened and they said they can't even remember me leaving for a walk. I don't know if it's just me not seeing what happened or if this is indeed spooky.
Young as hell on my first camping trip with the Rents. Our second day there we do some exploring and find another campsite not far from ours. Full of fucking hippies who look like they've been there a while. I start talking to one chick while parents talk to other weirdos and are slowly led away from where I am with leader hippie. Pretty soon they come back and we head back to our campsite. Wake up early the next day and catch first light with my virgin kid eyes. Crawl out of the tent to find leader hippie at our campsite. She asks me to come play. Being a naive little fuck, I say yes. She takes me back to their campsite and we fuck around for a bit and just chill. Parents storm the campsite and take me back, angry as fuck. Go about day as normal. Early the next morning Dad says we need to get the fuck out quick smart and we pack up. Check on the other campsite to tell hippies they need to ollie out too. Campsite is trashed, shed burned and ripped to shreds. Nope 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 all the way home.
Me, 15 years old. Lived in a house surrounded by a big-ass forest. Had a few neighbors, they had kids from 10 to 15 years old. One day we got all together, decided to go for a long walk in the woods. After 2/3 hours of walking, we found a well. Really creepy. One of my friends says he once heard a story about a woman killing herself there. There's an entrance near the well that goes inside of it, down there. Nope.jpg. One of my friends go inside and found a notebook, kind of a diary. We open it and start to read it. It was the life story of a woman who was really depressed, had her children taken from her, that kind of stuff. We didn't read all, it was really boring. Decided to see what the last page said. Right at the beginning of the page was written "I died." We get scared but don't really show it. One of us, the youngest, 10 years old, was scarred to death, wanted to go home. We started to fuck around with him, throwing rocks up in the air without him seeing and saying it was the ghost of the woman who killed herself. Just stupid kid stuff. We start to look at the last page to see if we could find something else in it. I start to get a weird feeling every time I would look at the page. My friends feel it too, like we were being watched. I get sick of it and rip the page of the diary, rip it to pieces and throw it in the well. Throw the diary in it too. We start to walk home. All scared, no one wanted to talk about the diary. I arrive at my doorstep. Right before I put the key in the lock, I look at the floor. There was a page of the diary written I died in it. Nope.jpg. I wanted to keep the page to show it to my friends the day after, but at the same time I didn't want to bring it inside the house. End up leaving it by my doorstep, where I found it. Next day, it wasn't there. Told my friends, none of them believed except for the 10-year-old one.
Damn it man, I want a in the woods thread. I'll start with one of my stories. Be 15 at the time. Parents moved to British Columbia, Canada. 16 acres. 3 acres of it is fenced in. A trailer and a small building 20 meters away from the trailer. Trailer has 2 bedrooms in it. Little bro gets the bedroom. Have to sleep in the man cave. The man cave when we first got it had concrete floors, pool table, holes in the wall. On hellofaparty.mp3. Today it's really fucking nice, heated floors, bathroom, TV act. Anyways. First night in there. Cold as fuck. Get up in the middle of the night to turn on the heat. As I'm burning my feet on the cold ass concrete, I hear something. Sounds like scratching coming from my door. Note, my door leads straight out to the forest. Any animal can come directly to my front doorstep. Crank the heat and run to my bed. Grab my tiny ass knife. Don't get any sleep that night. Time goes on and I get used to the sound. I just assumed it was a raccoon or something. Install sensor lights on the outside of the man cave. Playing video on the TV in there. Hear scratching again. Ignore it. Notice out the corner of my eye the sensor light for right outside my door goes off. Look at the door. I shit myself at what I see. It's humany odd looking and it's peeking through my window on the door. Scream like a little bitch and get my knife. It's gone as soon as I scream. No sleep that night. Confront my stepdad about it the next day. I say he did it. Swears on his left testicle it wasn't him. Yeah sure. Prepare for next night. Playing video again. Sensor light comes on. Look. Sure enough that thing was there. Since I think it's my dad, I grab my knife and head to the door. It hasn't noticed me. Go right under the window on my door. Jump up, dry knife in hand and try and scare my stepdad. It's not my stepdad. This thing is crouched down. If it stood up it'd be 7 feet tall. Extremely black eyes, or no eyes-eyed. It actually gets scared. It screams, revealing his teeth which almost look like human teeth. Can't place my finger on the scream. It wasn't human, that's for sure. It runs away. Make sure it's gone. Run to the trailer. Stepdad grabs shotgun and dog, tries to find it. Can't. Spend the next 2 weeks living in that trailer. It's been almost a year since that incident and my sensor light still goes off from time to time.
True story, but this is more in the swamp than in the woods. Hope that's okay. So we're in New Orleans for the Mardi Gras, when my idiot tinfoil hat buddy convinces me to extend the vacation cause he wants to go to Honey Island Swamp to look for some local swamp man or some shit. I've never been in a swamp before, so I figure hey why not, it'll be fun. So we get this local guy that looks like what happens when white mep crash but is actually pretty cool and has us and gator bite scars. Anyway, we're going through the swamp and while it was fun at first I'm getting fucking bored and there's a distinct lack of a swamp man around. Finally even my friend gives up and we decide to rest for a while before Billy Ray shows us the way back. So I fuck off to piss on a tree where there's this little, like a pond, or a swamp's equivalent of a pond, I don't know. So I'm pissing and hear something in the little pond. So I turn around with my dick still out and there are dozens and dozens of fucking snakes coming out of the fucking water on the little beach thing and they're making a fucking circle just a few feet from me. I mean these fucking snakes are literally going in a circle like a moving wheel, like something fried their fucking brain. And then this black goo shit starts coming out of the soil, like black cum. So I go get my buddy and our guide and Billy sees this and freaks the fuck out and starts walking back, picks up his stuff and pisses off. We don't wanna be left behind in a goddamn swamp so we follow as fast as we can. Billy won't talk about what the fuck that was, but my friend to this day hasn't fucking shut up about it. I think he wants to have fucking expeditions into that swamp or some shit.
Be walking in some woods with my brother. Walking forever. Find a large clearing between some trees and stop to rest. Nothing happens for a while. Notice a deer in the distance, pretty far away. No trees in the way. Definitely a deer. Deer walks around doing deer stuff. Deer suddenly sinks into the ground and disappears. Both of us stare in disbelief. Deer quickly re-emerges from the ground 30 seconds later. Watch intently. Deer disappears again, quickly sinking below the ground. Stare dumbfounded. Another deer appears from under the ground. Getting spooked because this makes no sense. Continue watching deer for several minutes. They walk into some woods. Not sure what happened that day. Both my brother and I saw the same thing though.
Camping alone deep in a woods in southern Louisiana. Deep enough that it took me 5 hours of paddling to get to my camp. Set up camp on a little island that is maybe a square acre. Hammock with buckets so I'm completely exposed. Have my pack tied up off the ground to the tree the foot end of my hammock is connected to. Wake up at like 2 a.m. to the what sounds like a coon fucking with my pack. It's not a coon. See a person draped in what looks like a canvas poncho and a shawl thing made of fur rummaging through my bag pulling all of my shit out. Can't get up to sneak up on him because the zipper's on my sleeping bag and bug net. Stay as still and quiet as possible hoping he will just take what he wants and fuck off. He sticks a couple of things in his pocket and turns toward me. Immediately close my eyes and pretend to be asleep. Hear him walk over and stand right next to me. In danger of collapsing into my own anus from clenching it so hard. He stands there for what feels like an hour but could have just been 3 minutes. He finally walks off. Can hear him walk to the other side of the island and what sounds like him wading into the water. Just lay there and stare at the sky trying to figure out what the hell just happened for the rest of the night. When the sun came up and I picked up all of the gear he unpacked, I only found an orange and a 20-gallon trash bag missing. I still have no clue what the hell he was or what he wanted with that orange and trash bag. If he was just some homeless guy, I would think he would just take the entire bag along with my nice ass boots that were tied to it.
Taking walk through fairly thick woods behind my house. Happened to come across a creek which I follow upstream. Eventually come across a spoopy looking cabin. Go 360 and walk away further upstream. After some time I begin to hear nothing, no birds, no wind, nothing but me walking through the woods. Minutes pass with no sound when I hear a low snarl in front of me. Eek, I stop in my tracks, crouch down, and wait to see something. Hear something running in front of me but not towards me. Get a glimpse of this thing running about 25 feet out on my right. It was on 2 legs and white as the moon, was facing me with 2 black eyes. Hear a loud screech from the direction I came. Enough time in the woods for one day, but that thing went the way I need to go. Find a small jagged rock for defensive reasons. Quietly and slowly begin my return. come across the cabin again when I hear something barreling through the forest from behind me. Loud snapping and thumping heading this way. Rush the cabin for shelter. When I get near the cabin I smell this rancid dead smell. I open the door to the cabin. I see the thing from earlier standing in the corner of the room. It smiles at me and dives onto the floor. Everybody walk the dinosaur. Read the first letter of the first 7 lines. And that is how I beat the forest troll.
Just type this up, hope you enjoy. I, at least got a chill just remembering back and typing this shit. Pick related, it's the general area. Be poor Norway fag. Enjoy hunting, fishing and / out in general. Somehow acquiring crazy old Alaska Husky bro, bike or hike with him every day. The dog wants to kill everything, except adult humans and female dogs. Way too smart and alpha for his own good, a real crafty sob, runs away the split second he gets a chance. Been run over twice, killed cats, mice, and even took down a roe deer once. Never lost a fight in his life. One time he ran away, he came back 8 days later covered in blood and mud, but he always came back eventually. You get the idea. Now back to the story. B/out in woods one late summer alone, near my friend's cabin which I can use when I want. Wanting to get the lay of the land because planning to hunt there that fall. Using cabin as base camp, I went out daily, exploring, fishing trout, looking for deer trails and big birds called shire. Bro dog is with me as always. One day I'm heading out, day 2 or 3. Long story short, dog manages to get loose, see him hauling ass after a deer. Here I go again. MP3. Pack rucksack, might as well make a trip now, won't leave without Brodog anyway. Leave some food near cabin, call job and family, tell the mill call before a week. Head out deeper than I've ever been. Spending days mostly exploring and just walking around, sleeping in tent when raining and reading books after dark. Spot lots of wildlife, huge moose walks right by me one evening just as the sun sets. Feels goodman.jpg. About 5th or 6th morning out I decide to head back to cabin and look for dog. Figure I'll make it just before dark if I walk fast and leave all the gear. I'll come back for gear after a day or 2. Pretty easy terrain to navigate, but somehow manage to get semi-lost. Figure I'll just follow compass straight southish till I hit the road which is near the cabin. Backtracking is for pussies. Head up steep foresty ridge, if I can just hit the gravel before dark. Hit the top of ridge and stop to have a look, sun is setting now. Looking down the other side there is a small, steep cliff, ravine which suddenly looks really familiar somehow, reminds me of place 4 been with a friend couple of years back. Bit freaked out now because it's still a long way to go if I'm right. Head down, no way back now. At the bottom I freeze in my tracks, I suddenly become super aware of everything around me. Something just feel wrong, it's dead silent and my neck hairs are standing. Feel more scared than 4 ever felt before, scared stiff I look around carefully. On the top of the ridge I spot something dark behind some trees. Looking at the strange shadow I feel a presence, like him being watched. Suddenly the shadow shifts, and I can see its huge size accompanied with something I can only describe like high-pitched clicking, screeching sounds. In my fear I become aware of 2 red eyes and a creature that can only be described as a huge black bat. It then spread its wings and without flapping once, just flowed straight up the sky. Came to think of it later, it sounded annoyed that I disturbed it, as crazy as that might sound. Memory a bit hazy after that, but I get to other side of the ridge, and there was no one else but Brodog standing and waiting for me, calm and alpha as always. As I catch up to Brodog, he then heads on south in the direction of cabin, keeping mostly in sight until I hit the road. Next morning I go out of the cabin, feeling beat up but pretty good all things considered. Brodog laying on the grass outside like nothing happened, yawning and just giving me that stupid stare he used to give me. His face whitened.
I've told it here before a lot, but never got replies. the early 90s. I made with my 17-year-old cousin who I kept calling my brother because I thought it was cool. He's trying to scare me by telling me about ghosts. He's telling me there are trolls and demons in the woods and they eat little boys like me. I was actually nervous but didn't show him. We're walking over a bridge that has a train track under. There's an old windmill. Fucking ancient, but it's grey listed so cannot be removed. Looking inside. See bones sticking to the ground. Cousin climbs up and in. Could he have injured himself as it was very high up? He does that thing where you put your hands and legs against the other side of the wall and slide down. Gets the bones out. It's a human skull with very, very long sharp canines. He turns wide. Is that a troll's skull, Anthony? I ask. He just drops it and gets the fuck out of there. Uncle worked in a hotel nearby. Hotel was haunted. It had trapdoors that led to other rooms, and an escape in case of fires or such. One trapdoor led to the windmill.
In a forest just a couple days ago with a buddy. Driving around old logging trails. Huge rut in the trail. Buddy wants to get out and look at it. Deep and wide enough to flex the frame and suspension till the tires hit the inside of the wheel wells. Amusing. Buddy lights a cig and walks around stretching his legs. There's a grassy clearing off to the left side of the trail with a very weathered hunting blind at the edge of the tree line. I go over to look at it. Notice that there is actually another trail that runs through this opening and snakes out of it in another direction. Walk down to inspect it since the hunting blind is near it and I wanted to check that out too. Notice something moving inside the blind. See the top of a man's head hunched down. Shout over to my buddy that the trail is too overgrown to drive down. Walk back to the Jeep with haste. Tell him that someone is in the blind. He doesn't believe me. I look back over to the blind and can now clearly see a dark figure in full view of the window staring at me. Tell my buddy that I'm not fucking around, and that there is a guy staring at us. He can't see the figure. Seriously fucking weird. Rest of the day was normal though.
A little background, my friend's dad owns so many acres of land, most of it woods. It's got a railroad running through it. I was like 14 when this happened. Me and my friend are bored so we decide to go into the woods and walk on the train tracks. We walk maybe like a mile on them, talking about going all the way into town and getting some snacks. We start talking about monsters, what would we do if one showed up on the railroad, etc. Hear gravel crunching behind us. Fucking black car with illegally tinted windows driving all lopsided, 2 wheels on the tracks, 2 in the gravel, following us. Friend says I'm not okay. With that and sprints into the woods. Follow her, jumping over logs, getting my legs scratched by thorns. Her skinny ass leaps over a barbed wire fence. I try to get over it and my skirt gets caught on a post. I'm hanging there like a side of beef. Really? She helps me off the post. Now we're in a cow pasture. There's like 18 cows staring at us from the top of a hill. Both of us get creeped out by the cows. We hop back over the fence into the woods again. Getting really dark, see a coyote staring at us. Friend is trying to call her dad, he won't answer, she starts crying, I'm just staring straight ahead. Ideas of being raped and killed by whatever fugnut was driving behind us on the tracks are flashing through my head. Her brother finally picks up the phone, he tells her dad our situation, he comes after us. He can't explain exactly what that car was doing, but probably not something good.
Well, I posted this about a week ago but I'll post again, and also thanks for the anon who helped me find out what symbol was that. Be in my country house, I do not know how to call it in English but it is known as chakra here. Me and my brother chilling after a long day making concrete and shit, we were making our own pool. About 2 AM. Me and brother playing Vidya and talking. I'm 18, he's 25. Hear rustling in the small woods near the main house. Nigger, that's weird, it's not even windy and it was hot as shit inside. Suddenly quiet. I mean quiet, bro. The vadia stopped emitting sounds and the owls and wildlife outside went dead silent. Me and my brother just stare at each other and look around. Nope. Dad wakes up and tells me and my brother, who were really weirded out, 8 AM to see why the damn pit bull is barking. What? There is no barks, Dad, the pit bull is sleeping outside. He insists we go and see it if the pit bull was okay. Me and brother head out, he has a gun, I have a machete. Head to where we heard rustling early, figuring it would be the pit bull. Past the bush there was a big blackberry tree. See a figure doing something to the tree. Yell a warning for it to get out of the property or he will be shot. He stops dead in place and begins moving his head quite slowly to look at us. Shiggy diggy, shoot that shitty. Brother fires Winchester at him. Misses, even tough, he still insists he hit the figure clear in the chest. Figure was like a man, 5'3". The gear starts to bolt really fast. Runs straight into the pool construction site. We run after it but can't catch up. The thing was way faster than any of us. Jumps clear over the wall and seems to stop atop of a tree. Go inside and get a flashlight. I must add that we had forgotten because we were really in a hurry to get out because we love the damn dog and the full moon was illuminating quite well. Head out to the small woods to examine the blackberry tree. Notice now that the pit bull was still missing. Pit bull is unconscious but unhurt under the tree. Just to clarify, this dog really hates anything that is not my family. 3 has these weird marks on the bark. Like a serpent rolled around itself with letters in its body, a small circle with some stuff drawn inside above it and 2 smaller David stars. In a circle inside the circumference formed by the snake. And somehow there was a black leather belt nailed really high into the tree. Like 12 foot high. Take the passed out pit bull and head inside, locking all the doors and staying real close to the gun. While Dad was sleeping again. Asks about gunshot. Tell the story. Dad sees the blackberry tree next morning. We cut down tree next day and to this day I do not know what the hell happened. Boy, I hated this part. I get real nervous when I go around the stump of said tree. My cousin found a poison cat near the stump a month later, lol. Also sorry for the bad grammar, as you can see English is not my native tongue.
Living in Wisconsin. Me 17, my cousin Ben who was 16, cousin's friend Josh also 16. They live in bumfuck nowhere. Living there for the summer, house surrounded by woods. Shed is a 30-minute walk from house, usually go there to smoke and shoot our BB guns and be idiots. 3 in the afternoon. Anon, Ben and I wanna go to the shed, we're bored as fuck. Got any weed? I was the oldest so if I didn't go they weren't allowed to. Bought a fuck ton. So let's go, not shit else to do. Start walking down the trail to the shed. Trees aren't super dense but dense enough that if you go off the trail you can get lost and disorientated easily. Make it to shed. Doors normally chained and padlocked. Door is cracked open, chain and lock on ground. WTF Ben, I told you to lock this up before we left. If your pa saw it he'd be pie. Hear a large cracking sound, like a tree falling in the distance. We all just look. I resume bitching. But anon, I did. And the chain is broken, look at it. Who the fuck would be out here breaking into a shed full of nothing? 3v1, decide to check it out up close. Thick as chain, looks like it was gnawed through. I thought some noob robber didn't have the right chain cutter or tools. Cracking sound again, bit closer. Fuck this, I'm getting a rifle. All grab hunting rifles and head back. Shed door fully open, weird smell in the air that reminds me of dead animals on a hot day. Still can remember it so distinctly that I can almost smell it again as I type this, but it also smelled like wet grass and something indescribable. It was so fast I hardly saw it, but it looked like a person crawling on its hands and knees at an inhuman pace. Shit bricks so hard I almost fell. It stopped about 40 feet away, could barely see it. It looked like someone trying to puke. Horrible smell intensifies. We all raise our rifles. What are you doing on private property, and are you injured? Any sudden movements and we'll shoot. It slowly begins to turn towards us. The nope is real. It looked like a person in dirty ass clothes. Might have thought it was a bum if it wasn't able to cross 40 feet in like 10 seconds on its hands and knees. Making weird gagging noise. Start pushing Ben and Josh back while watching it try to heave. As they keep backing up, I raise my rifle and it makes the most disgusting gag noise I ever heard. It pukes red, pink and black stuff. Looks up at us. Can't forget its face, still have nightmares about it. It looked like someone had beat its face with a hammer. It was all broken and dirty and bloody. Its teeth were yellow but there was still puke coming out of its mouth and nose. Couldn't see its eyes really. It had cheek-length shaggy dirty brown hair. Can move, too afraid. Anon, let's go. Anon, fucking move. Can't. Me and it are staring and I begin to notice that its fingers are all twisted and broken looking and it has abscesses on his arms oozing blood and pus. It looks like a semi ran it over then got a mollywhopping by Chris Brown with a hammer. I feel the urge to puke. It seems it's getting darker. It must have been damn near 6. Anon, holy shit, it's moving with the fuck. Anon, let go. Anon, come on. Snap out and shoot a warning shot towards it. It crawls off so fast if I had blinked I could missed it. Haul asses back home till uncle shows up. I tell him. I've seen it. Tells me to forget, and gives me a beer to help. Can't forget, can't unsee. I cried all night. I was so afraid.
When I was younger, surely more than 10 years ago, I was hiking along the Czech-German border. I was just enjoying the fact that there are no border controls and was just walking through the forest without sticking to any path. It's not that easy to get lost there, even though the Czech side is somewhat thinly inhabited. Somewhere I just stumbled and nearly fell. I looked around and found some stairs. Just 2 stairs sticking out of the ground. I first thought that someone dumped trouble from a demolished building there, but hardly a step further I found a deep, open well. If the stairs wouldn't have caught me I would have fallen into it. I went on and noticed shallow walls covered by dirt and leaves everywhere between the trees. I found an inkwell on the ground and later a whole stone door frame that was completely sunken into the ground. I counted at least 10 buildings. Some beer cellars remained intact altogether. Back then I was creeped out as hell when I found several bones in one of them, but I think they were from a pig. Nothing was around this place, no roads, no paths, just forest and swamps. It's hard to find such a remote place in either Germany or the Czech Republic. I couldn't explain it back then, but now I'm sure I just found one of the German villages in Czech territories that were demolished after World War II. Nothing paranormal, but I was eerie.
Field near friend's house, 8 or 9 p.m. in the fall, so getting dark but quite a lot of moonlight, not exactly full but close. Couple of other friends, all couples, me and friend whose house we're near, called her Claire, both single. Hanging out on the climber, couples making out, Claire and I third wheeling it up. I climb a tree nearby. Claire suggests to show one of the couples the forest nearby. We're in a pretty high-end suburb, so not likely to be any meth heads or hobos or anything. Mostly a place for them to grope each other privately. Claire and couple goes off, other couple stays on the slide, in my tree. Spacing out, thinking about stars and birds and we see a little bun hop out from underneath my tree. The bun looks up at me with its black rabbit eyes. Cute dark brown bunny friend hops out into the field, looks up at the moon. My eyes drift over to the forest beyond, friends humping on the slide, houses in the distance. Notice the bun stands up onto its hind legs. Then it keeps standing up, stretching upwards to larger than average bun height. It doesn't like anamorph and grow proportionally, just stretches up until it's maybe 4 feet tall. This fucking bunny long legs standing in the middle of the field. Holy shit, I say, hoping to interrupt my friend's pre-coitus. I don't. The barn looks up at me with its black rabbit eyes. Nearly fall out of my tree. The thing just strides into the forest. Claire and other friends come back a few minutes later. I'm hacked right the fuck up for the rest of the evening.
Here's something I experienced 2 months ago in Iceland. Be there on vacation. Lots of outdoor activities. 4th day of the trip. Been hiking with my girlfriend. I wanted to camp outside overnight, she didn't. She went back to the base camp. I stayed in my tent, collecting firewood and some berries and edible plants, roots and whatnot for the night and next morning. Been chopping the wood for about 10, maybe 15 minutes. Hear knocking noises from the upper hill. Look around, see nothing, continue my work. Few moments later, again knocking noises, this time faster and louder. Standing up to get a better look, see nothing again. Continue chopping the wood. It knocks again, even faster and louder than before. I knocked back in the same speed and loud enough. Suddenly the air feels thick as fuck, like there's some sort of presence. Hear something I can only describe as noises a great ape would make. I'm fucking frozen on the spot, can't move at all. It's calling again, and again, and again. 4 times in total. I come back to my senses and reach for one of the bigger sticks. Hear a sudden rumble of loud footsteps moving away faster than any animal I know of. Didn't return in the night. I GTFO'd early in the morning.
We've had other shit happen his house too, never anything that scared me that bad. Be years before Bum Monster. I'm 13, Ben is 12. Ben used to have an outdoor cat named Socks. Socks doesn't show up to eat and that fat ass is always early when it's feeding time. About 4:30 when we get actually concerned. Ask aunt and uncle if we could look for him. They give us walkie-talkies and keep one for themselves so they can call us back in. Grab flashlights, in case it got dark. I was always over-prepared, BB guns, cat food bag to help lure him out. Walk to shed and start looking. Nothing. Keep walking around little footpaths letting our aunt know where we were going and all that. Starts getting dark, head back home. Close to the house when there is a rustling and a whisper from tree line. Then you don't scare me, stop messing around before auntie gets mad and whoops your butt. Hey Anon, hurry up, him tired Ben, who was ahead of me nowhere near tree line. I think I heard Socks, he might be hurt, let's go see. Walk towards rustling. Dat ain't no cat.jpg. It was about 6:30 and the sun was almost down. We turn a flashlight on and I shoot at the trees. The sound of whatever I pissed off that night was like a dog bark and a raven cawing like cock 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 cock. Shine light around, catch a set of eyes. Suddenly walkie-talkies start fucking up and all we hear is loud white noise from them. Nope.x. Sound was anything but natural. Run home and lock doors, tell aunt and uncle. Probably hit some dog or a sleeping bird, don't believe us about the walkie-talkies. Found Socks 2 days later, one half near the area we heard the sound by, the other half we found near the shed right in the middle of the path. Make myself believe it was a coyote or wolf or fox or something, never discussed it again till now.
B last spring. Out training dogs with rescue team. Idea is to go out some trail and let the dog find you. Start down path that goes to some old coal mine. Find an old set of stairs made of concrete but they only go up one level. Also an old shed is there, AMD big wall. Looks good to me. Go hide in there next to wall. Notice wall, which is 25 feet tall and 30 feet wide, has a big hole in it. Hole is big enough for a fat guy to fit in. Look into hole. Hear water drip. Have a big ass flashlight with me, sunset, and shine it in. Other side of wall goes in really deep. still seeing darkness on the farther away parts. Sit there and wait for dog to find me. Once dog finds me, it's acting very scared of the hole. Me and trainer go set 3 more trails on other area away from hole. Fast forward to the weekend. Friday night. Bored and hell sitting at fire department with 2 junior firefighters. Tell them about hole. Get the smart idea to get our 1900 lumen flashlight, spotlight, and go there. Arrive at hole. No moon out, so extra dark. Small town, so no light pollution either. Junior firefights acting scared as shit because of the story about a guy dying out there working on coal equipment. Get the spotlight and sign it in. Lights up a giant borehole where they extracted coal. Shine light on deep park. Hear a noise like fucking Jurassic Park venom spitter. Doesn't sound close, so not exactly shitting myself. Goosebumps all over though. Other guys wanna leave. Keep looking in hole but not about to go in. Keep examining. See giant fucking bear-sized thing. Looks like a rat with scales. It's about 50 yards away. Turn light off and we try to walk away without being loud. We use just regular flashlights now. Then we hear the muffled sound of a man screaming for help. Flashlights go out. The fugue. Haul ass down the steps and run to the road where I parked.
About a week ago, June 21st. Me and my buddy take a shitty aluminum boat we found in the woods 15 miles down the river, nobody anywhere for miles. Set up camp on a sandbar, swim and fuck around for a while. When it gets around 10 we start watching a movie on my phone. I got 4 grams out there, fucking odd. Where we're set up watching it is under a shade tree, thick woods behind us. Hear shit moving around behind us. Every time we fucking go camping weird shit happens. We'll share other stories later, so we know what to do. We both grab our rifles. I have an AKM with a Surefire light, he has an R with a 1.4x Leupold scope and Surefire light, very quietly. Look at each other, nod, and shine lights behind us, and hear the thing run away. Set up our shit with our backs to the river instead of the woods and build the fire up higher. Finish the movie, we're fucking tired so we decide to throw a bunch of wood on the fire and go to bed. I'm at one end of the sandbar. This sandbar is probably about 150-200 yards long and like 40 yards from the woods to the river, and he's on the other. I can see his flashlight right in my ear. SSSSSHHHHHHHH. Against my first instinct to run away from the noise, I shut up. And then I hear a very low, guttural growling. Shine flashlight into the woods where I heard it. 3 or 4 coyotes. Put a couple rounds in each one, yell to my buddy about what happened. Watch for a while, then go to bed. Coyote is gone in the morning, learn how to tfo very fast.
I have a lot of stories from in the woods. I'll try to share a lot of them since I'm bored as fuck right now. Also if you're on /k/ you may have heard few of them before. Live in the woods. In a barn type structure we have on our property, probably about 1:30 a.m. Carrying my trusty flashlight attached to it. Walking out of the barn. Little girl's voice says "Daddy," very clearly, from the woods beside me. Spin around, shine light, ask who's there. Nothing. Well, came to the house if you need anything. Internal fuck this shit primal instinct takes over. Sprint back to the house, about 100 yards away. Try to get some sleep but can't because of the adrenaline. Shitpost on 4chan for a while. Hear knocking on the door. Oh shit, there was really a little girl out there. Go to the door and open it. Nothing. Clutch rifle for the rest of the night. Forgot to add, ever since that night, every time I'm in that area after dark I feel as though I'm being watched and my adrenaline starts pumping again, and lately I've just tried to stay there and talk until the feeling wears off. Before, I would take off running. Now another story from me and the same guy I went on the boat trip with. Hike out to his cabin by the river, about 8 miles away from the truck. Cabin's locked, so we just start a fire and chill until it starts getting dark, where it becomes more important that we only have this one-person tent between the two of us. Break into the cabin through the window. Through the window is a small bedroom with 2 beds, then there's a wall and a door leading to the rest of the cabin. And the door is locked. Try to sleep, but it's so damn hot, all we do is toss and turn. Get determined and open the door with my knife. Clear the cabin, nothing abnormal except for a creepy ass attic and a dead rotting rat that fell in the toilet. Cook chili. Start hearing loud knocks from different sides of the cabin, including the roof and the floor, and this cabin is on the ground. Heavy lamp falls off a windowsill. Grab our guns. This was a few years back. This time he has a Wasra with a flashlight and I have a Mossberg 500 Persuader, and go outside, look everywhere for what the knocks were. Give up and go inside, sit down and continue talking. Then this high-pitched screech out of the woods. We both burst outside and he shoots into the woods because he saw an eye reflection. Clear the rest of the area and go back to where he saw the eyes. Nothing. Barricade ourselves inside the cabin and continue eating delicious chili. Next morning we pack our shit up and leave. The whole time we're hiking out, we hear shit breaking behind us like something's following us, but we don't know not to turn around. We drop our shit so we can go faster. Get back to the truck. Load our shit into the bed as fast as possible. The whole time we hear something raising hell in the woods. Haul ass out of there. One from when I was like 9 or 10. Going to fish at the creek with my friend Ethan. On the way there, you have to cross the cemetery, with grave known to everyone as the witch's grave. It says something along the lines of "where I am, you soon shall be too," and some more stuff. I have another story about it from a friend's pub too. As we cross the cemetery, Ethan starts acting sick and odd. Not my problemain.jpg. From the trail across the cemetery that leads from the creek, a woman steps out. Very pale, with long black hair and odd dark clothes. Nope. Go fishing somewhere else. Alright. A few days before this story took place, I was with this guy at the cemetery showing him where the witch's grave was, and the grass all around it for like 10 feet was all black. Not like burned or spray painted, but it was just black. Noped out of there quick. Now the trail I was talking about going down earlier to go fishing goes to a bridge over a creek. Everybody goes there to fish and to go mudding. Rural Texas fag, by the way. Town is full of rednecks. B. Tyler, the guy I showed the witch's grave. Fishing at the spillway at like 2 a.m. with other friends Kyler and Zach. Getting ready to leave, trying to find the shotgun in the dark. Massive boulder splashes not 6 feet from him, from across the creek in the woods. That's not fucking funny, guys. Load back in the truck. Zach and Kyler were already there. The fuck you guys do that for? What the fuck you talking about? You were the one trying to scare us by growling. Mutual oh fuck mode engaged as they realize what just happened. Start the truck up, headlights turn on just in time to see something bipedal and fuck huge dart into the woods. I could tell by the look in their eyes they were telling the truth too. The woods out here are fucking creepy, man. Another one, with the same guy I always get in deep shit with. He's also a /K/Amando for extra reference. At his house, bored as fug. Decide to go backroading and splorin'. Grab guns, hook in his truck, go to Valero for glorious peace tea, and leave. After like an hour of drifting and shit, we came upon a perfect dirt road for drifting. Get to the end of the road. About 30 very old graves, each like 10 feet tall. All of a sudden notice that the woods are just unnaturally thick. You wouldn't be able to get through it at all. It's closer to a wall of thick vines than any sort of woods I've ever seen. guy dressed in all black steps out from behind a gravestone and begins walking towards us. Clutch rifles, cut perfect donut, and go back to his house to play vidya. With another friend named Nathan, after a relatively large bonfire with like 30 people there, huge for a 1,000-person town. Everybody else left, we're just sitting on the tailgate and bullshitting. We hear rustling around in the woods, fairly loud. Shine my light in the area and shoot in the area for shits and giggles. Next morning. Come out to pick up cans and trash and shit. Coyote disemboweled belly up in between our trucks. I gotta go home, bye nigga. I may have forgotten to mention earlier, my town has a huge cult presence. Everybody knows about it and a lot of people have encountered them in the past. This is a creepy ass fucking town. B. Kyler from the other story. His house is on a 20-acre piece of land, surrounded by 400+ acre deer leases, so it's always extremely quiet there. Sitting out on front porch, eating sunflower seeds and drinking tea at midnight-ish. Moral of these stories, go to bed early, nigger. This was also a couple weeks ago when it was Friday the 13th and a full moon at the same time. Start hearing chanting shit, immediately know what it is. Grab SKS, go in a woods. Takes 3 or 4 hours to get to his property line on foot without using trails. Can hear the chanting very close and he can see th glow from the fire. Sneaks up close to the demon meth blood fire party. 30 or 40 people gathered around the fire wearing nice clothes, chanting in a weird language around this fire. Decide it's too many people and try to trip and fall hard backing up. Everyone stops chanting, Kyler just takes off running and doesn't turn back. A few minutes after he gets back to his house, the chanting continues. Calls me out there for backup because he's scared as fuck. About 9, I gotta leave for work. He says after I left he heard the metal wash bins next to his house fall over. He goes out to check it, SKS in hand. Raccoon or coyote skull sitting on his porch. And his fucking shed was on fire. He puts it out fairly quickly so there's not much damage, but he wanted revenge. Grabs SKS, some extra clips, bolt cutters, and a propane torch and heads for the clearing. He gets there and keeps following the trail that's attached to the clearing. There's a small white shed about a mile down. Cuts open the padlock and opens the door. Just stairs going down. Goes down and there's this underground arena type thing. Looks like high school bleachers on each side and a pentagram on the floor, of course. Smells like death and burnt popcorn, as he described it. Torched everything and left. Haven't had a problem since.
Not really innawoods but still /out/tire. Camping in North Dakota, on a dried up lake bed, mud flat. Trip has been mostly ordinary shit, spent much of my time waiting for buffalo to get out of the road instead of actually driving. Campground was set up at the bottom of a steep ridge to the south, but came in from the north. Can see the entire campground, nobody there yet, would be just me and my dog for the night. Set up camp, leave dog to guard campsite, blast off to get firewood from the local comp warden as night falls. Come back, dog isn't in plain sight. We've gone camping together dozens of times and he knows protocol, he wouldn't just fuck off. Hear whimpering. It's coming from the tent. Open up tent, dog is inside with tail between legs but still wagging, ears down. Dog must have opened the tent and closed it again somehow. My dog was never too bright at understanding things like doors and drawers, WTF. Let him out, he's walking around still with his tail between his legs and wagging, occasionally stopping to stare at the ridge. Ignore dog because acting worried just makes dogs more angsty. Drink a little, stars start to come out and I'm the only one at the entire campground so I light up. Hear a repressed chuckle. Instantly tweak and walk around, there couldn't possibly be another human here. No trees, Rocks, nothing, just the ridge 300 meters or so to the south, stretching east and west, and endless mud flats that stretched north into the Badlands where spiky rock formations dotted the distant horizon. There was a half-dozen wooden kiosks for protection from the decolten sun, but you couldn't possibly conceal yourself behind one. Probably just some gear settling in the car. Start stargazing in a blaze, spot a couple shooting stars here and there. Dozing off, jostle awake to a snort. Look up, buffalo sniffing my car. Jump up and yell, then yell in surprise. A buffalo herd snuck down the ridge and invaded the campground, encircling my tent and car passively. Dog is freaked out and clinging to my side, but absolutely silent. Afraid he'd bark and scare a buffalo and cause something. Bring him into the tent again, piss out the low embers and start to finish the bowl I had packed earlier. Hear a murmur. Buffalo don't make that sound. Hit the bowl again, hear a clear snickering. Pissed off, look around. Just buffalo standing around and snoozing outside of my campsite. Imagine some goons dressed up as a buffalo out in the wilderness to scare some poor camper, laugh. I'm probably just too high and imagining things. Go into the tent, dog licks my ear and lets out a contented whine. Tuck him under my arm, so he'd be spooning, and roll up in my blanket. My dog feels safe, I feel safe. Hear some rustling near my tent, but can't see out because I always put on my rain tarp despite the weather. It always seems to rain on me. Hear footsteps, soft feet with toes, not hooves. What the fuck? Swear to God I'm hearing whispering. Yell get the fuck away, I have a gun. I did, in fear of strangers. Noise stops, hear nothing. Poke head out of tent, look around, all the buffalo are gone. What? Back into tent, shrug it off, continue viciously spooning my dog, and finally fall asleep. Dream that I'm running through the mud flats barefoot, surrounded by laughter. Jolt awake again. Something is fucking with the tent zipper. Too fucking scared to move. Heard some legend about Native American spirits harassing white people on cloudless nights in the Badlands. Zipper opens just an inch. Dog wakes up and starts growling, looking right at the door. My fucking bowl starts squeezing through the gap. Both paralyzed and intrigued. Bowl pops through, zipper shuts immediately. Hear no footsteps. No laughter, nothing. Grab gun, rip open zipper and jump out, brandish it and scan around. Come on, fuck with me. Fuck with me. Nothing but a slight breeze. Circle car, tent, then entire campsite. Nothing, only tracks were mine, my dog's, and hooves. Go back inside tent, dog waiting and not doing jack shit as always. Bowl is still by door. Almost afraid to touch it, pretty sure I had packed it away after using it. There's a crumpled up straw wrapper in the actual bowl. Unravel it and see untidy handwriting on it, hard to make out. Squint at it and hold it up to the starlight. Just 2 words on it. Alio Mel.